Hello guys, I hope you are all safe at home, doing well. So stay home, stay safe, and do Excel chemistry. So those who are listening here for the first time, in fact, our first chapter that we are going to talk about in the inorganic is about S block elements. So today, S block elements. See, normally rough recapitulating, if in case if anybody is not familiar with this, we have the periodic table, and the periodic table seems somewhat like this. And at the bottom, so this periodic table has been classified into S, P, D and F blocks. How? Depending upon, there is something called as valence electron. So as the valence electron enters into the s orbital of last shell, then we say S block element. If the valence electron enters into the d orbital of last but one shell, then we call it as D block element. If the valence electron enters into the p orbital of last shell, then we call it as P block. And similarly, last but second, if it enters into the F, then we call it as F block. So right now we are not talking about D, P and F, we are talking about S block. In that S block elements also, we have got with two groups. One is group 1 and other one is group 2. So our study first is with respect to the group 2. No, with group 1. Okay, so we shall start with group 1. That is, in the group 1, what are the elements present? You must be knowing this group 1 elements: hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium and francium. So these are the elements of the first group elements. Okay, these are also called as, all of them, they are called as alkali metals. Alkali metals, except hydrogen. Regarding the hydrogen, we don't study in the group 1, that is alkali metals. Okay, and the reason is hydrogen has the properties that is similar to the first group, that is group 1, and also to the 17th group. Even till today we have this problem of position of hydrogen. Okay, because its properties are similar to the first and 17th. And moreover, we are talking about alkali metals. Hydrogen is not a metal. Okay, so remember that. So we will exempt the hydrogen, and apart from that we also exempt francium, because francium is a radioactive element. It is a radioactive element. So not only for francium, any radioactive element is present, then its properties cannot be studied, because its lifespan itself is very less. In fact, there is a term called as half-life, T half lifetime, which is hardly of 21 minutes, 20 to 24 minutes in between. Okay, so T half or half lifetime of francium is very less. So because of this reason, the properties of francium cannot be studied. Okay, so leftover thing is what? Lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium. So out of this, in our syllabus of group 1 for JE and NEET, the compounds of sodium is relatively important, which we'll be discussing. So let's begin. First, the general electronic configuration of group 1, general electronic configuration of this group 1 elements are NS1, where N stands for the number of the valence shell. So by definition, why they are called as S block? They are called as S block because the last electron enters into the s orbital of last shell or valence shell. Because of this, we call it as S block element. Okay, so the general electronic configuration is NS1. For example, lithium, we have lithium's configuration as 1s2 2s1, and sodium's configuration as 1s2 2s2 and so on. I'll write it as simple one, that is neon configuration with 3s1. Potassium's configuration is argon with 4s1. Rubidium is krypton with 5s1. xenon with 6s1 and francium with radon with 7s1. So as you observe carefully, you can see like the N value in the for lithium's case, the N value is 2, sodium 3, potassium 4, right? So this belongs to first period. Hydrogen belongs to what? First period. Second period is our lithium, so that's why it's second period, no? So that's why the last electron is entering into the second shell. Sodium belongs to what? Third period, so that's why we have 3s1. Fourth period, fifth period, sixth and seventh period, so that's why we have 7s1. Clear? All right, so this is the general electronic configurations. Now straight away coming to the physical properties. So physical properties, the alkali metals, they are, first of all, why are they called as alkali metals? Alkali metals because the reason why they have got with alkali, just information, not much useful for you, but as a kind of information you can remember this. Alkali is derived from a Greek, sorry, an Arabic word, okay, which is alkili. Okay, why? Because see, in the Arabic, the plants, okay, the dead plants or the plants that are buried for years together, they are burnt down and their ashes are collected. And when their ashes are collected, their properties, okay, their properties of the ashes, when they have studied it, it contains compounds of sodium and potassium very much. Okay, so the dead plants and burnt plants, when they're carried and made a study of that, the ashes of plants, they contain compounds of sodium and potassium in major quantity. So that's why from then onwards they have used the word. And these are what in nature? Like basic in nature, right? Yes or no? So alkali meaning the ashes of the plants ashes, that also you can say. Okay, so this one, that is sodium and potassium, they are called as alkali. And now today alkali is because the other reason that you can write is, in fact the important reason is this: these elements like lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, these elements, when they are dropped in water, when they are reacts with water to form hydroxides, to form hydroxides that are basic in nature, that are basic in nature. So this is what, for this reason they are called as alkalis, alkali metals. Okay, so I hope you understand why they are called as alkalis. Now coming to the physical properties. So in the physical properties, the first one, that is they are all metals, undoubtedly all of them are metals, and they have the, or they are silvery white solids, silvery white solids. In fact, silvery white meaning it is clearly that they have luster, good luster. When do they have good luster? On, or good luster when freshly cut. And freshly cut, I mean, suppose if I have a metal and I cut it, I slice it down. Okay, now when I am saying slice it down, that means here itself I'll tell you one more point: they are very soft metals. They are so soft that, that we can cut with the knife, we can cut with a knife, just like cake or fruits we cut, no? So same way we can cut with a knife. And now this, the freshly cut portion, this part, if you look carefully, they have bright luster. It's their nature. Again, this bright luster does not remain for long time. This bright luster fades off in no less time. Okay, why? Because this fading is because this particular zone, this particular freshly cut piece, they are exposed to moisture or oxygen or atmosphere, right? So they are exposed to atmosphere, and atmosphere reacts with this, and we call that particular reaction as surface oxidation. Okay, so it is fading off due to surface oxidation. Okay, so this is the reason like why the bright luster of the freshly cut metals will remain for some time only, within no less time they just fade off. Okay, so this is all is an information. Now mainly I'm talking about physical properties, these are the important ones. All the information is aside. Now first of all, let me explain here also one more thing, that is why do they have this luster and why they are soft. They are soft because, here let me write the reason, due to weak metallic bond. Weak metallic bond. The soft metals, why they are soft? Because due to their weak metallic bond. Now let's understand what is this metallic bond first. Let me make some space here. Suppose I have, let's say, an atom A and B, they are bonded with each other. This A plus is found, B minus, that means one electron is lost to this and it is positively charged, and this one gains electron, becomes negatively charged. So such a type of bond is called as ionic bond. We don't have any doubt in this. And there is also another type of bond, that is AB bond, where A is sharing one electron and B is also sharing one electron. In such a case we get dash bond. You have studied this. Yes, it is covalent bond. Now there is a special kind of bond where it is metallic bond. Metallic bond. Now what is this metallic bond? Suppose I have a, let's say, some metal rod is there. I have just taken a metal rod. Now this metal rod, for example sodium metal rod, so sodium will release out one electron and becomes Na plus. So like this we have many Na plus ions, and we have the free electrons. Okay, so when I zoom particular section, let me rewrite like this. This Na plus will be attracted by many free electrons around it. How come these free electrons came from? Very simple. Sodium will lose one electron. Metal's tendency is to what? Lose electrons. Non-metal's tendency is to what? Gain electrons. So here sodium nature is to lose electron. So it has lost one electron and became Na plus. Any metal will become, its tendency is to lose electron, and these metals, the lithium, sodium and potassium, they have high tendency to lose electrons. Okay, fine. So now when I zoom this particular section, I have Na plus being surrounded by stream of electrons, or I can say sea of electrons. Between this Na plus and this electron there is a force of attraction. Same way this between this and this there is a force of attraction. Between this also there is a force of attraction. Between this also there is a force of attraction. Similarly I have the subsequent sodium ion, and they also have force of attraction between this electron and this one, and the electrons here. So on a whole the situation is something like this sodium and this sodium, they are held together by these electrons. Force of electrons experienced by this electron on this and the same this on this. So such a type of bond, okay, where the metal ions are existing together by electrostatic force of free electrons, such a bond is called as metallic bond. Okay, I hope I'm making some sense. So you are able to understand, I think. Now this sodium, I call it as kernel. What is kernel? Sodium ion. That means the protons, number of protons, number of nucleons, number of electrons, protons and everything together with the positive charge, that is called as kernel. And free electron, this is called as what? Free electron. And this free electron, the force of attraction between kernel and free electron, that is called as a metallic bond. Okay, we understood what is a metallic bond, hopefully. Now coming back to our reason, soft. Why they are soft? It is soft because the metal is soft or hard just because of the force of attraction between them. If the force of attraction is stronger, definitely they become hard. If the force of attraction is weaker, definitely the metals will be soft. So now here when you look, this metallic bond is a weak one. Weak. Why it is weak? It is weak because these electrons, what I am calling it as free electrons, they do not stay at one place, or they are not stagnant. Free meaning what? They keep on moving. And that's the reason we say metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. You know it in 8th or 9th standards you should have studied. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Now why is that metals are good conductors? It is these electrons that are responsible for the conduction of current. Okay, you will study about in details in physics a lot. I'm just giving you an overview of this. So depending upon this force of attraction, we call that is metallic bond, we will identify whether it is a soft or hard. Now here I have got with sodium with only +1. I have two cases for you. One is sodium with +1, case 2, magnesium with +2, case 2. In which case the bond will be stronger? I repeat again, my question is, suppose I have two situations like this, case 1 and case 2. In case 1, I have that first one, I have the sodium becoming Na plus by losing one electron. In case 2, I have magnesium becoming Mg plus 2 by losing two electrons. So in which case the metallic bond will be stronger? Metallic bond is stronger depending upon the force of attraction, right? So Mg plus 2 is here, Na plus is here. So plus 2 has more force of attraction because two positive, no? This is only one positive. So one positive force of attraction, two positive force of attraction. In which case more will be there? Of course Mg. So because of this we can say like in magnesium it is more stronger metallic bond than sodium. Okay, so we'll talk about that in detail as we learn about group 2 also simultaneously. Now as if now coming back to our topic, that is soft metals. Why they are soft? Due to weak metallic bonding. Okay, I hope this is very clear. Alright, next what else is there regarding the, so fine, so these are the physical properties, nothing else. Fine, now let's move to the atomic properties. There are some atomic properties. So in the atomic properties, the first one is valency, and I hope that you know the definition of valency because we have been using this right from our lower class 8th, 9th, 10th, right? Anyways, I'll tell you valency. Some students still confuse between valency and valence electrons. Now I'm talking about valency only. I'm not talking about valence electrons. Valency. What is valency? Simply speaking, valency meaning the combining capacity. The combining capacity. How one atom can combine with how many other atoms. Like for example, I have, let's say, a lame man, okay, a very lame man, and he is having only one handed fellow. So how many friends he can hold, hands of his friends he can hold? Only one. Suppose if he had two hands, or like let me say like he has only one hand and he give a shake hand only once. For one fellow he can give a shake hand at a once, right? Suppose if he has two hands, at a time how many shake hands can he give? Two hands are there, so definitely two shake hands. Okay, so in a simple understanding, if it is of one fellow, one single-handed fellow, then his combining capacity is 1. Okay, he can hold only one fellow. If he has two hands, its combining capacity is 2. Suppose I bring an octopus here. Okay, so octopus here for example, so octopus can hold how many fellows? 8 fellows, right? So 8 is the combining capacity of octopus. In other words, for this fellow, his valency is 1, his valency is 2, his valency is 8. So simply speaking, the combining capacity of an atom is called as valency. And for the first group elements, what you find the valency is always 1. First group elements will always have what? 1 as the valency. 1 is the valency of group 1 all the time. Okay, and if you talk about the periodicity from top to bottom, if you go, that is from lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium and all, if you go from top to bottom, what do you expect? Will the valency remain same or change? What do you expect? Valency, will it remain same or change? Valency will remain same. Why? Why does the valency remain same from top to bottom? You take lithium. Lithium's tendency is to lose one electron, become Li plus, right? And this Li plus will be bonding with some chlorine. So its combining capacity is only with one chlorine. You take sodium. Sodium also will lose one electron and become Na plus, and that also can bond with only one chlorine. So you take any other metal, its excuse me. So its tendency always is remaining 1. So that's why you take from top to bottom, the valency will remain same. Okay, then the second property is atomic size. Now what is atomic size? By definition, if you visualize an atom, even in 10th standard you should have studied how an atom looks like. Okay, so if you visualize an atom contains nucleus at the center, and around the nucleus we have many shells which are also called as orbits are also called as energy levels. Fine. So from the center of the nucleus to the outermost shell or outermost electron, okay, so the distance between this center to the outermost electron, we call this as atomic radius. Atomic radius is equivalent to atomic size. We generally consider that atomic radius and atomic size both are attributed to be same. So by the way, once again, the definition of atomic size is what? The distance between the center of the nucleus to the outermost electron. This is termed as what? Atomic radius or atomic size. Fine. So now let's look how does this atomic size or atomic radius vary for lithium, sodium, potassium. If I choose the elements Li, Na, Rb, Cs. So lithium case we have just seen what is the configuration, 1s2 2s1. Sodium case, neon with 3s1, and this one is 4s1 5s1 6s1, right? Now meaning is what? From the center to the second shell, so I have the first shell with 1s2, second shell with 2s1. So from the center of the nucleus to the 2s1 electron. Okay, so 2s1. If you talk about sodium, the same, center of the nucleus, first shell, second shell and third shell. So from the center to the third shell, the electron 3s1, the distance is this. 4s1 is there for potassium, so that means nucleus at the center, 1 2 3 fourth shell 4s1, and this would be from where? 5s1, and this would be from 6s1. So on a whole, if you look 1 2 3 4 5 6, so from here to the 6s1. So if you look from top to bottom of the elements like lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, what is happening? The size, atomic size is increasing. So the order is what? Order. Lithium is smaller than sodium than potassium than rubidium than cesium. This is the order. Okay, now why? Reason. Because competitive exams is always about reason. You must know what is the reason for. Okay, why does the atomic size increase from top to bottom? As the number of the shells increases, the atomic size will definitely increase. Easy so far? I hope it is easy. Okay, then the third point, that is density. Now what is density? We know that we have been studied. I have a question for you guys all. Think on it. I have a small spoon of water and a glass of water. Okay, a small spoon of water or a cap of water and a very big glass of water. So between a small spoon of water or a cup of water and a big glass of water, if I compare, in which case the density will be greater? Is it the small cup of water or the glass of water? Whose density will be greater? Think. If you have answered that cup, that is glass of water will be higher density, then you are wrong, because density is always depending upon, you should have studied this formula, density is equals to mass upon volume. So density does not depend on amount of the substance alone. It is always depending upon mass upon volume. So if you ask about the density of this cup of water and glass of water, they both are same. Not only cup and glass, you take the density of a tank of water also, it will remain the same, which is 1 gram per cc. Okay, so density of water will always remain same irrespective of how much amount of substance, that is mass, you have considered also. Are you understanding? Fine. So density is equals to mass upon volume. Now if you look to the density property for the first group elements, that is lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, as we move, we know like density is equals to mass upon volume. So as we move from top to bottom, the atomic mass has been increasing drastically. See, two cases, two factors. Density depends on two factors. One is atomic mass, other one is atomic volume. Okay, so as we move from top to bottom, both of them increases. Atomic mass will increase, atomic volume also will increase, but the increment of atomic mass is very high than atomic volume. Okay, let me write the point here. As we go down, the increment, up arrow shows increment of atomic mass is greater than increment of atomic volume. Remember this point. Okay, so finally as we move from top to bottom, both are increasing undoubtedly, but out of these two, which is relatively more increasing? Atomic mass. So if atomic mass is increasing drastically, or it is increasing on higher pace, so what should have happened to density? Density is directly proportional to mass and inversely proportional to volume. So as mass increases, density also should increase. So that's why what we find is, from lithium to cesium, the order of density is this. Okay, sir, you did not fill up here. Yes, I did not fill up here wantedly, because very important exception case. In the competitive exam, focus on the exception case. The density of sodium is greater than density of potassium. Do remember this very important point. Okay, now why is it exception? Okay, I can explain this in two ways. One is regarding the packing efficiency, okay, which we'll study about this point in 12th standard. I can write the point here. Normally the packing in the alkali metals is loose. They are loosely packed, and because they are loosely packed, why they are loosely packed? In fact, because their size are due to their sizes. Due to their size, what happens is, just now we have seen, or if you compare the first group elements with any other group elements, from left to right, size will decrease, right? So that means what? First group elements are relatively bigger in size. So bigger in size, due to higher size, the packing of metals is what? Loose. Hence their density will decrease. Hence the density decreases. Okay, or the density is less. But when you talk about, this is the general explanation for this order. For this order, why is it happening so? This is the reason. Okay, fine. But for density of sodium and potassium, what we observe is the atomic volume of potassium has a sudden increment, a drastic change, sudden increase than atomic volume of sodium. So this is the reason for the exception case of sodium and potassium. Okay, when you look potassium, if you observe potassium in the periodic table, okay, before potassium we have this just now I have shown that where is that? So potassium is belonging to which period? Fourth period, right? And before this fourth period or fourth series comes in, we have the 3d orbitals, right? The 3d orbitals have been spread a lot. Okay, D shape, which you should have studied in the atomic structure, but I'm just giving you an information. Once you check out with the atomic structure chapter, you will understand it very clearly. Remember this as if now, in case of potassium, we have the increment in the atomic volume, sudden increment in the atomic volume. So because there is sudden increment in the atomic volume, so what happened here now? in case of sodium and potassium, atomic volume has increased. If volume has increased, density is inversely proportional, so density should decrease. So that's what it is shown. Potassium's case, density is lesser than sodium because the sudden increment of the atomic volume. Okay, so this is the exception case that you must be knowing. Okay, so now let's talk about another point, that is melting and boiling points. So I hope you are clear with the density. Now let's talk about the melting and boiling points. Next property, that is MP and BP, blood pressure, no, boiling point. So melting point and boiling point, they have the same trend. The trend is melting point decreases from top to bottom. Now again, why is this melting point is decreasing from top to bottom? As I already said, melting point, first of all you need to understand, let me write the reason also, then you'll understand by yourself. Reason, strength of the metallic bond is decreasing. Strength of metallic bond is decreasing. Think, before I explain, you should think about the reason what I have written. As we move from top to bottom, the strength of the metallic bond is decreasing, hence melting point is also decreasing. Okay, let me explain this. What we have observed is, in case of the, it is all, the melting point is coming to the point of metallic bond. So if you choose lithium's case, I'm making some space here just to explain you. So if you choose lithium's case, the smaller atom lithium, this is the case, and cesium, the bigger atom, 1 2 3 4, the many number of shells. So between this bigger atom and the smaller atom, so this is the free electron, this is the kernel, and this is also my kernel. So between this kernel and this free electron, okay, I repeat again, there is a free electron and free electron for this one. Nucleus is somewhere here, and in this case the nucleus is very near. So if I ask you a question, think and answer, reason yourself. Between this nucleus and this free electron, there is a force of attraction. Between this nucleus and this electron also there is a force of attraction, no doubt. న్యూక్లియస్ కి ఎలక్ట్రాన్ కి ఫ్రీ ఎలక్ట్రాన్ కి మధ్య ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్ ఈ కేసులో ఉంటుంది, ఈ కేసులో కూడా ఉంటుంది. కానీ ఏ కేసులో ఎక్కువ ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ అవుతుంది? లిథియం కేసులో ఆర్ కేస్ 1 ఆర్ కేస్ 2? థింక్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్. ఏ కేసులో ఎక్కువ ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్ ఉంటుంది బిట్వీన్ ద న్యూక్లియస్ అండ్ వ్యాలెన్స్ ఎలక్ట్రాన్ ఆర్ ఫ్రీ ఎలక్ట్రాన్? దిస్ ఆర్ దిస్? ఆబ్వియస్లీ దిస్ ఇస్. ఎందుకు? సి, ద న్యూక్లియస్ అండ్ ద ఎలక్ట్రాన్ ఇస్ వెరీ నియర్, క్లోజర్ కదా. So they are close enough to be attracted each other strongly by each other. Whereas this one, nucleus ikkada untundi, free electron ekkado దూరంగా ఉందన్నమాట. సో ఆ రెండింటి మధ్య ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్ వీక్ ఉంటుందా, స్ట్రాంగ్ ఉంటుందా? డెఫినెట్లీ వీకర్. అండ్ ఇదేంటిది? స్ట్రాంగర్. ఇది వీకర్. సో ఫ్రమ్ టాప్ టు బాటమ్ ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ ద మెటాలిక్ బాండ్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ ఏమవుతుంది? ఇదేమో స్ట్రాంగ్ ఉంది, ఇదేమో వీక్ ఉంది, అంటే వీక్ అయిపోతున్నట్టు కదా. సో ఫ్రమ్ టాప్ టు బాటమ్ ద మెటాలిక్ బాండ్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ ఈస్ డిక్రీజింగ్, అండ్ హెన్స్ వాట్ వీ కెన్ సే ఇస్ melting point also decreases. Okay, it is all, melting point is depending. First of all, what is melting point? You should know this thing also. Melting point ante enti? I have a molecule, I have another molecule of same thing. ఈ molecule కి మధ్య ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. మాలిక్యూల్ అనేది ఒక స్పీషీస్, ఇది ఒక స్పీషీస్, ఇది ఒక స్పీషీస్. ఈ రెండింటికి మధ్య ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్ ఉంటుంది. ఆ ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్ మనం బ్రేక్ చేస్తేనే ఇవి సపరేట్ అయిపోతాయి. ఇవి సపరేట్ అయినప్పుడు, అంటే ఆ బ్రేకింగ్ జరగడానికి యూజ్ చేసే ఎనర్జీనే ఆర్ హీట్నే ఆర్ ఎనీ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఎనర్జీ, దట్ విల్ డిసైడ్ ద మెల్టింగ్ పాయింట్, ద పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టెంపరేచర్ వేర్ ఇట్ మెల్ట్స్. అండ్ how can we decide is depending upon the force of attraction between them. If there is a strong force of attraction, melting point will be high. If there is a weak force of attraction, melting point will be less. So ultimately melting point is decided on what factor? Force of attraction between them. So that's what we have explained it here. ఈ రెండింటి మధ్య ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్, ఈ రెండు మధ్య ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్. ఈ కేసులో స్ట్రాంగ్గా ఉంటుంది, ఈ కేసులో వీక్గా ఉంటుంది. సో దీని యొక్క మెల్టింగ్ పాయింట్ హై ఉండాలి, దీని యొక్క మెల్టింగ్ పాయింట్ లో ఉండాలి. సో ఇఫ్ యూ రైట్ ద ఆర్డర్ ఆఫ్ మెల్టింగ్ పాయింట్స్, the order is what? Lithium is greater than sodium? No. followed by rubidium and cesium. Same goes with the boiling point also, same order. Okay, fine. And the next one, that is ionization energy. Now I have a task for you for today. I'm stopping here. Ionization energy is a question for you all. Think about this. In the next class we'll talk about this property and how does it vary from left to right and from top to bottom. Are there any exceptions? Okay, so it's a small task for you. In 10th standard also you should have studied this property, ionization energy. Okay, so just open your books and read it out. For today we shall stop. See you in the next class. Stay home, stay safe.